Ladies and gentlemen, in this episode, you are going to hear opinions. And while the podcast is endorsed by Uriah Heep, the opinions of the host and various guests do not necessarily represent the opinions of the band or any of the members past or present. With that being said, let's celebrate the music of Uriah Heep. Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. And today, I'm going to say pause the show, go grab your disco ball, your pet rock, your bell bottoms, whatever you like that reminds you of this time, because we're kind of hitting on borderline disco here. And it's pretty interesting to hear Uriah Heep do it. Now, this is a really weird time in music, guys. This is when disco was starting to take over a little bit. Rock was kind of taking a back seat to disco, to punk, to, songs like If I Can't Have You by Yvonne Elliman, songs in that genre, the Bee Gees, things like that. And it was just a weird time in music. And I think a lot of bands tried some things that were experimental. They tried to stay with the trend, but find a balance between following the trend and staying true to who they are. And there was a lot of weird stuff that came out at this time. I'm going to put today's song, Dance, 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 in that category because I think for Heep, it's a very experimental song. One thing that was really big in this time was the wah pedal, but Mick had been the master of the wah pedal for way longer than this. I mean, since the beginning. So he was really ahead of the trend on that. And so it's kind of expected that you would hear him play a little bit of wah in a song like this. But I don't know what to say about the song really ahead of time because it's just something so different. I think we just need to dig right into it. But first, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. It's Tuesday. It's still in that early part of the week where you're kind of like, once it's Wednesday, I'll feel better because then we're over like the middle of the week and we can start that psychological, downhill arc towards the weekend that always goes by way too fast. And then it's Monday again and we start all over. This really bizarre cycle that so many people that live in the corporate type world or banking industries live. And then there's, my friends that work in the mortgage industry and they just work day and night when the market is like this. It doesn't even matter whether the sun is up or down. They've probably got a file open and they're reviewing it. So it's just a really weird time, but why not? Because it's a weird time we're talking about in music. It all fits together. See how I did that? Good times. So here is Dance, Dance, Dance by Uriah Heep. The weirdest way we're probably going to end a season on the Magician's Podcast.
Dance, dance, dance. You got to keep on dancing.
So I gotta say, I really like the groove. I mean, the vocals are kind of cheesy, to be honest. It feels very forced, like, let's try and write a commercial pop song. And that may not have been the intention of the band, but it just really feels that way. I mean, this is so different for what they're known for doing. And even though they've been a fairly experimental band all the way, right? They've not done things the way that other bands do. They do kind of just different stuff than you would expect. Not always or even usually sticking to typical song structure. I mean, they're kind of experimental, but this is experimental for them being experimental. So it's kind of extreme and such a direction change. But yeah, the opening vocals kind of sound a little bit cheesy to me. But I love the groove. I love what Mick's playing on guitar. I love what the drums are doing. There's a really nice flange on the bass there where it's not too much and too overbearing. It actually just sits really nice on that sound. And of course, in this style of music, bass is going to be featured a little bit more because that's kind of what moves the song along with the drums, because this is music for dancing, really. I think this is still a little bit rocky, though, which I like. I like that they're staying true to who they are.
to keep on. Really go inside of your bad news. I don't think I can hear it anymore. Mister, please don't play me no more blues. If you will, I'll walk right out the door. 'Cause from the first touch of morning light, my feet can't wait to hit the floor. 'Cause all I wanna do is dance, dance, dance.
Okay, I have to say, it's all about perspective right now, because here I am in 2021. This song is coming out in the the mid to late 70s, so it was a long time ago. Probably, towards the beginning of songs being written with lyrics like this. Right now, all these years later, it seems kind of cheesy, but at the time, this was all the rage, right? This is what was going on in the industry. So the good thing is, I love what Mick's playing on guitar. That wah during the verse is just fantastic, but I love the riff there. Drums sound nice and solid. The bass guitar is nice and solid. It actually fits together very well. The chorus is where I start to get a little okay. That's just cheesy, but the verse is really strong for me.
Feeling down, but the blues are never here to stay. Just by putting on my blue shoes, I'll dance my troubles right away. Won't be so rock and roll, anything to keep my heart alive. 'Cause all I wanna do is dance, dance, dance.
It has the same sound that yesterday's song I Always Knew has. It's obviously very rough and unpolished as far as the mix goes. It doesn't sound bad though. I mean, there's a pretty good balance between instruments, but it doesn't have that nice clean sound, that good mastered treatment to it. But overall, it's actually not bad. And there's a lot going on here sound wise. So I think it actually sounds pretty good. But, again, this is listed on the CD as previously unreleased. So there you have it. But not bad at all. I'm digging it more. I'm kind of finding the chorus part, or that dance, dance, dance part, a little more acceptable now that I've heard it a couple times. But, it is on that border of kind of cringeworthy, but it's growing on me.
Got to keep on. Dance, dance, dance. You got to keep on. You got to keep on.
Okay, did that seem weird to anybody besides me? I felt like Mick thought that he had more room for the solo, and he should, because that's a great groove to solo over. I love what the bass is playing. The keyboards are backing that up nicely. Drums are great. That is just a perfect setup for a guitar solo. So I feel like that part where he was soloing, that should have doubled before they went into this, But even before that, when they were doing the dance, 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 and let's play the music, then let's stop and just sing, and play the music and just stop and sing. Like, that is such a classic thing that was done in that time. So it's not really surprising. It really fits the genre, but in the context of, going from one Heep song to another Heep song, this definitely feels out of place because it's so far away from what they would normally do. That doesn't mean to say it's bad. It just means it's different from what we've come to expect from them. So it's really kind of out of the blue what we're hearing in this song. But it was a great solo. I would have loved to have heard another section of that. I think he was geared up for it and then got caught kind of by surprise. Again, demo version. So this isn't like they practiced. I can't even say practiced. but it isn't like they just, worked on this and worked on this. It sounds like they came up with it. They had a basic structure. They recorded it. And so they weren't, 100% comfortable with where they were in the song. Because I think that, some of the sounds that we're hearing in the background, like the oohs and uhs and that sort of thing, and maybe even the harmonies might have been a little bit tighter on the final version than what we're hearing here.
Dance, dance, dance. You got to keep on.
Okay, first of all, I love that transition back into the verse. That was fantastic. And it's such a great riff. I kind of want to hear them do a build around that riff more, maybe adding some other instruments or some vocals to it. I don't know, but it's such a good riff. I hate to let that go. But great transition back into the verse, and then some really beautiful backing vocals that we're hearing here. I really like that idea, and it does add another flavor to the song. But that whole changeover, that reminds me of, like those comeback parts that I've talked about from time to time on the show. Like, I'm okay. I'm doing all right. Oh, wow. I'm energized. I'm coming back, that sort of thing. And it really sounds good in this song. I'm really liking it. Very cool. So I want to talk about the drums real quick, because you're not hearing a lot of crash cymbals, are you? You're hearing a cymbal-like sound, but you're not hearing a lot of crash cymbals. So especially in the disco era, this was really big. And there are some rock songs that feature it from time to time. But whenever I hear this, I typically think of either like swing music or disco, or, a handful of rock songs that this was really big in. But what you're hearing is he's actually hitting the hi-hat. He's hitting the hi-hat as he lifts the pedal up with his foot and then hits it again when it comes back down. So that gives you that psh, psh, instead of like a crash sound. It's really easy to do, and it's really easy to do in the groove of a song like this. It was very, very common in disco. If you think about, all right, I can't think of any disco songs right now, but it was popular in that era. But it's really cool. It actually adds a nice little flavor to it. It definitely brings that disco feeling out a lot more than if he wouldn't have done that. I'm glad when they're saying dance, dance, dance that they're not stopping anymore, because that was getting a little bit stale for me. It's kind of a nice gimmick to do here and there, maybe once in the beginning or after the first chorus. And then after you come out of a solo as you're transitioning into whatever's next. But to do it as many times as they've done it, I think they've kind of pushed the limit for me about that. And I think anymore, I might not enjoy that as much. So I'm glad that they're just keeping the beat going behind that now. Okay, I'm going to put this more in the category of a demo track, I think, than a previously unreleased version, because it definitely feels a little bit choppy, a little bit like they weren't as comfortable with the song as they would be for a final recording. So I'm going to put it in the demo category. But, I think if they would have called it Got to Keep On instead of Dance, 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 I think that could have been a better title. That might have been a little bit more appealing to me anyway. But certainly calling it Dance, Dance, Dance really does fit the style of song that it is. And I think it's a good song. I think they really had something there. couple of things I would change if it were me or if I was a producer on the song. You know, I would maybe stop the stops, you know, maybe not do that so much. And, you know, a couple times. But yeah, I think if it was tightened up, I think this could have been a really good song. Definitely would have fit the era, but I'm glad that it's not a direction that the band turned to on a permanent basis. You know, they didn't say, hey, you know what, this is fun. Let's just do this from now on. Definitely glad that didn't happen. But for what they did here, I think it's a pretty good effort. And I would listen to it again for sure. So, wow, guys, that is our song for the day. The last song on Firefly. We're done with season 10. So tomorrow we are off on this show. I have my other show that I do, and then we'll be back on Thursday for the Magicians podcast, and we will start Innocent Victim. And that is going to be another fun journey with special guests and great songs and all kinds of shenanigans. So buckle up, guys. It's coming at you. Have a great day off, or have a great day off. Like, okay, just take the day off. There you go. I'll give you permission. Whether your boss likes it or not, I don't know. But take Wednesday off of the show. Go back and listen to another episode. You know, listen to a song that you really liked. Kind of look at it through a different set of eyes. Anyway, do something fun. Have a great week, guys. We will see you on Thursday. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!